Well, I destroyed the anvil flask. It's about time to make a new one anyway. We're gonna make a false drag, my friends. Trying to remember how I did this. I've already made some of these. Big, medium, and smaller. I got a lot of extra clay in this batch of sand. I'll hold it. I'll push this down a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Let's try that. This has to be rammed up pretty tight, pretty solid. As I said, I've put a little extra clay in this batch to make my false drag, just to help hold it together better or longer. Rough this up, keep it from laminating. Go ahead and mellitize it a little bit. Just going to slick it down, and that ought to be good enough. Like I said, I'm just sealing it from the air. We have some other pieces that go along with this. I didn't put those in the first molds. We didn't have to have as many of those, but I'm going to do that with this one if I can. Now, if I didn't say, we're only going to have to do this on this particular one, and then the other molds, we'll already have all this hard work done until we wear this out, right? Go ahead and find the bottom. Now, I have to be careful on that big one because it sticks up farther than the rest of them. We don't want to blow this out on the back side. As I said, I do have some more parts to put in here, so I want to start kind of focusing on getting a level plane here where we can add those to it. Can you kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here? It'll come together more as I keep going. You'll figure it out. Can't have any negative draft. I just need an area to place two little hooks in this region. And I want that as close to level as I can get it on a bed here. Main thing I'm doing is making sure everything is glazed over good as I go. Let's see if we got enough room there for our hooks. Yep. Put that one there. And this one we'll put right here. I think I like them better this way. I don't want to hit on this too hard. I don't want to have a sharp corner of sand here. So we'll give this a little relief. Now you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about. We have almost a 90-degree surface here where this meets. If we were to try to leave it like this, most likely that piece of sand is going to just snap right off when you separate them. So this will help alleviate that. This is my parting line that I'm creating right here. And I'm going to tell you, these little parts are tricky. We have draft angle down here on the sides. So we don't want any sharp corners if we can help it where they intersect. Just about need a smaller slick, don't I? So I'm going to have a runner that goes right between these, and I'll put a gate here, 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 and then on the runner I'm going to have a little short stubby runner that goes up in between these, and it will fill probably right in here because it'll make it easier for me to grind out. But as I said, doing all this on a master like a false drag, which when I say a false drag, this is only temporary. We'll only be able to do so many molds at a time with it. Now I've got to make sure these are going to pull, and in doing so I got to make sure that that little key in the middle stays where it's supposed to. If that breaks, I've got to repack it and do it again. But I think these are going to come out pretty clean. They did the first time. That doesn't mean anything then. So we got this one to move a little bit, and I can tell you already, still got some sand trying to hold it here, and here, and here. So my key is loose. I see my key is not catching anywhere. But I am grabbing, I'm still grabbing up here somewhere, so let's take a few little grains off at a time till we find out where the culprit is there. I think I'm grabbing right here. And right here. I'm going to move my magnet up closer to up here. All right. Now I got to do the same thing with this one, and like I said, I know this sand here is going to be out of the way. Very good parting line. I like that. And again, we have some sand grabbing right here. Here. Make sure a key is free. That might have been a problem. All right, 2 down. Maybe the smallest one will go easier. And it doesn't have to be perfect, guys, but it's a lot less headache. The closer you get it now, the better off you will be on the rest of this. And see, I just messed up and pulled the key. So let's see if we can't force that down in there. All right. So if you want to know what these parts look like, they're kind of tricky. Now, before I go any farther, even though I know these will pull now, I don't feel confident that they're going to just slide right out when we get ready to ram the other half. So I'm going to address that now, and there are some spots that I can see clearly now that I couldn't see before. And this is some of them right here. And I'm just lightly, the better I address the parting lines now, the better they'll mold. If this one wasn't so far down in there, I would probably go ahead and dig out a little bit more bank just to keep that corner from being so sharp. But we have at least 80 degrees of angle, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm looking over all this right now just to see if I need to hit any areas that could hook sand when I get ready to do the next half of it. And I noticed on these, it wouldn't hurt if I could come on down a little more with it. It's good enough. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to blow these out. Put everything back in place. Now these two are very close to being the same size, so I have to make sure I put those in the right spot. So originally I was going to do this with a plaster block follow board, and I just ran out of time. We promised we would have these ready by the end of this month, so I'm going to look at this right now, and we're going to get our tape measure. Of course, my inspection sticker's gone, but this is calibrated. And I'm going to stab each one right here. That's going to be 2.5 inches by 2.5 by 4. So as long as I don't forget those numbers, we're good. 2.5 by 4. All right, so let's get some more sand mold and get to work. All right, so our registration holes are clear. I'm going to dust this. And once we get this round, I'm going to separate it and put the false drag to the side, and we will use it the next time around. I'm not really too worried about the bottom sides of this. We'll go ahead and, for demonstration purposes, go ahead and do it. Now, if you notice, I tried to avoid washing my parting dust down, because that will happen. And this particular grain size just locks everything together. Alright, so I'm going to try not to over round these, just to try to prolong the life of the false drag. It does need to be pretty solid, but I'm going to try to go as gentle on the drag as I can in order to keep reusing it. My goal is to get at least 4 nest molds made off of this before we have to redo it again. That'll work. We're going to hold off about punching the sprue in the cope until we round the other side, or I would have to actually block that hole up. Alright, so let's see what happens. It gets easier to use each time. Alright, so now do you understand what I'm doing here? I'm actually creating a parting line for all these features that I can just keep reusing. Now I can slide a new drag after I get the false drag out of the way. Alright. So could you actually imagine trying to do this on each and every mold? It would take me forever. All right. Yeah. It's going to be off of this side. It's going to be 4 and 2.5, but it's going to be over here when I flip it to do that. Two and a half. And 4. Since this is the bottom one, I'm going to be using my tapered sprue. On everything from here up, it'll be the regular straight cylinder. I can't remember how far down I have to go with this, so I went a little deeper than usual. Alright, I got movement. Alright. It's 1 down. 2 down. just the vibration of that magnet alone is sufficient to wrap the little patterns. This one's being a little stubborn. All right. And I said I was going to do all my runners in the cope, but honestly, I think I'm going to do it in the drag from here forward. I am going to cut a runner all the way down to here. I want to come in here. All right, so we are ready to set the first drag in place. I wanted to just pick back up with you here and illustrate that we're fixing to go ahead and ram this up. And before I separate it, I'm going to go ahead and mark my sprue, which is going to be over here right now because we have the mold upside down. With it flipped over, it's going to be on this side. And it will correspond with the interface of the other mold. So I'm going to go ahead and finish filling this now. I didn't explain myself too well a while ago, but when I'm putting sand on something I just dusted, I always try to do the low areas first and build my way up to keep from washing that parting dust down. But this is the second mold we're about to complete. Alright, so we're going to go all the way through with this one, and I said 2.5 from the end. And 4 from the side. Got to keep it square. Step back, look at it, make sure it still looks straight, because we want this to, if I decide I'm going to go, and I may not, I may just stop at 2 levels high, just because I don't feel like trying to raise a crucible that high up in the air. It's also dangerous. So we're probably just going to do 2 stacks of 2 tonight. You know what? Let's pack this just a little bit around this area. See how I'm leaving that just a little bit proud? And I'm also going to put a little bit of a gasket on the other side. So let's see if they stay in. Some of them do, some of them don't. But it's clean. Excuse me. This is the cope. And while we have it here, I can go ahead and vent it and also cut the pouring basin, since we're going to stop at 2. So I'm going to put my pouring basin right here. All right, before we set this flask on here, I want to make a little bit of a gasket and sand just around that area. If these had been as flat as a surface plate, I wouldn't have to worry about it. But what I'm going to do, I'm covering just this edge of the hole with that, and I'm going to put some sieved sand all around that surface. I'm just going to gently, I'm not really pushing hard on this sand, I'm just making it all one uniform height on this end. And then I'll remove that. Alright, so let's see how far off we are. We did good. Got it right on the money. Alright, so all I got to do now is put the cope on it. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little weight on it. And that will help tighten down on that seal. All right, guys, so we got these actually it's these 6 molds ready to go. Hey, Dollar. Hey, Jake. Jake and Dollar are saying hello. For those who have been asking about the Windy Hill Foundry hats, these are now available on my website, windyhillfoundry.com, under stores, or you can click on the above link. These are on the pricey side, but keep in mind the shipping is included. Have a good day.